Ruthie from FS Securities. We are an education and information firm on the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. And every Monday morning I go through what happened in financial markets around the world and try to forecast what we may see this coming days or weeks, I would say. And I will show you how investors and traders can make money on the global markets, including ours. And of course, I'll show you what is hot and what is not, what you should hold and what you should fold. And please enjoy the presentation. If you have any feedback, we would really appreciate to hear from you by sending us a text or an email, and share the presentation with other people that you know. And of course, this presentation will be on the website, and you'll show the details in a minute, and will also be on YouTube and in various other social media. Okay, well, Australian shares actually poised to leap higher this morning. As you can see here, the futures are showing 95 points higher. This is actually the week on week. So you can see the Dow to start with at 26,075, well above what it was 3 weeks ago. And the S&P 500 also was higher, and the Nasdaq of course continues to be the star performer in America. In Europe, the Stoxx 50 index, which comprises most major European markets, finished on Saturday at 3,296. As you can see, almost the same level as last week, but slightly higher than 2 weeks ago. And the FTSE 100 index in London was trading at 6,095, well below what it was a couple of weeks ago. The DAX 12,633, above what it was 2 weeks ago. And the ASX 200 at 5,919, you can say more or less steady over the last 2 weeks. Actually, that's last week, the week before, and that's how it finished 3 weeks ago. So you can see 2 weeks changes, almost very steady. Well, the futures this morning, as I mentioned, it's most likely the market will open 95 points higher, that is 1.6%, taking the market to 5,971. Gold at 1,801, about $21 higher than what it was 2 weeks ago. And silver, $19.05, higher than the previous 2 weeks ending. Brent oil shot up again. It was down to 41.02, 42.80, and now 43.24. And West Texas crude oil, $40.55, well above it was 2 weeks ago, but slightly above what it was 7 days ago. And soybeans going a bit higher. Now looking at the Australian dollar versus the US, 69.5, that's nearly 1 cent higher than it was about 3 Saturdays ago. The euro, 61.5, higher than what it was 3 Saturdays ago. And the British pound, 55.06. By the way, the Australian shore, as I mentioned, opened higher, and that is actually on the back of some good news coming from the United States, that they reckon that remdesivir, that's an antiviral, is helping reduce the risk of death in severely ill COVID-19 patients. And that's probably, you know, that the number of cases are increasing, but the number of deaths is decreasing. So we have at least perhaps some solution to reduce the number of mortality. Okay, now looking at day over day, you can see here the changes between all the commodities and the foreign exchange. Okay, now looking over the last 2 weeks, you can see here that gold was $17 higher over the last 2 weeks. Most of the rise came last week. So last week was very good for gold. And the same thing with silver, 77 cents higher last week, $1.13 over 2 weeks combined. Crude oil, that's the West Texas crude oil, was 30 cents up last week, but $2.46 over 2 weeks. And this slide and everything else will be actually on our website shortly, so you can go and visit our website and get all the information that you want. Bitcoin, for those people who actually follow Bitcoin, was trading at 9,275 US per coin. Compared to what it was a few weeks ago, it's nearly $200 below what it was. And that converts, by the way, to 13,280 Australian dollars. And for people who follow iron ore, by the way, was happened to be trading at $106 US per ton. And of course, that's important for BHP, Rio, and Fortescue. Okay, now looking at the Australian market, we see here what happened over 2 weeks. In terms of the indices, our gauge, the ASX 200, is made up to a great extent by two main sectors, the financials and the materials. When both of these sectors are up considerably, it takes the market, the full market, up as well. When both of them go down considerably lower, it really affects the overall market. Well, last week the financials were down 3.2%. However, the materials was up 0.7%. And when you look at the 2 weeks combined, the financials had two bad 2 weeks, as you can see here, nearly 1% lower over 2 weeks. So you can see 2 weeks ago it was positive, last week was very badly negative, affecting the total decline, which is actually down nearly 1%. On the other hand, materials was up 2.4% over 2 weeks. 2 good weeks, as you can see, 0.7% last week, and of course 1.7% the week before, making a 2.4% rise over 2 weeks. So you can see that over 2 weeks our gauge has been almost unchanged. 5,919, that's approximately what it was 2 weeks ago. Looking at the various stocks, now you can see a lot more red cells here than blue. However, Bramble, even though it was up 3% last week, it was down 10% over 2 weeks. Newcrest Mines is the star performer, 1.5% last week rise, nearly 7% rise over 2 weeks. 2 good weeks for Newcrest Mines. Telstra, 4% up last week, 11.8% rise over 2 weeks. Woolworths, thanks for you guys buying toilet paper, was up nearly 2% last week, and it was up nearly 6% over 2 weeks. So you can see that of all the stocks you can see here, Newcrest Mines, Telstra, and Woolworths happen to be the star performers. On the negative side, AMP down 7.8%, most of it last week. And CIMIC, the Old Leighton Holdings, down nearly 7% last week. NAB, the banks, look at ANZ, down 2.6% over 2 weeks. NAB down nearly 3%. CBA is the only one that has actually shown some positive rise over 2 weeks, nearly 2% over 2 weeks, despite the loss of 1.3 last week. So obviously it had a very good rise 2 weeks ago. Westpac down 1.8%. Obviously 2 weeks ago it was positive. Last week was 4.8% lower, affecting the overall performance over 2 weeks. And Worley as well, 0.8% down. Woodside Petroleum, almost steady, down 1.1% over 2 weeks. And Santos, down 0.4% over 2 weeks. Now when we look at charts, there where we pick up all our signals, we look at the monthly and the weekly for the investor. We look at the weekly and the daily for the traders. So looking at the Dow weekly, you can see it's been holding over the 61.8 Fibonacci retracement from the recent high and the recent low. Got up to 50% retracement, hovered around it, moved up to 61.8, and that seems to be the support level, and that is 25,250. So what we're going to see this week, interesting point, it's an earning declaration season. So depends on the earning. Well, of course, we don't expect a very positive earning for the last quarter, and actually for the last, say, 6 months. So that will obviously affect what's going to happen to the Dow. But remember, the Dow is made up to a great extent by the top 30 US stocks, and there are a lot of IT stocks coming out of the Nasdaq, so that cannot be too bad. On the weekly, on the daily side, the parabolic stop and reverse, those red dots are below the candles. That's bullish. Stochastic has been bullish for quite some time. A little bit of a snag here and back trying to move above it. And you've got those dotted line, the orange, that is the 9-day moving average above the black dotted line, which is a 21-day moving average. 9-day moving average above the 21-day moving average, that's positive. However, we can see here that the blue line here and the blue line here, that is actually the Bollinger Band, and what we see here is a convergence. Had we seen the ending above the 21-day moving average, that would be positive, but we can see here it closed below it. So my expectation is we might see some decline this week, but we perhaps can see the 25,000 something is actually going to be the support. Now in terms of our market, we're hovering between the 50% retracement and the 61.8 retracement. We never exceeded the 61.8 retracement on the weekly. So however, when we look at the parabolic stop and reverse is bullish because happen to be below the candles. The stochastic is bearish, having dropped below the 80% line. That is bearish. And we've got the 9-day moving average below the 21-day moving average. That's bearish. So my expectation is that is actually more of a bearish trend on the weekly. However, on the daily, we've got bullish parabolic stop and reverse, bearish stochastic. The 21-day moving average seems to be the support, and we know that the market most likely will open higher by 95 points this morning. So we're going to see the candle, a green candle here, and you've got the 6,085, which is actually showing the upper band of the Bollinger Band. Could be some sort of resistance line. So we'll see what happens this week, but you've got conflicting messages here. And by the way, that thick orange line, it's the 50-day moving average crossed above the 100. That is actually positive when you consider that that line was well below the 100-day moving average for a number of days. Okay, now looking at our mechanical system where we pick up signals from the chart. These are the weekly, and what we have here, we see the daily, and you can see more or less the Nasdaq, the S&P 500 remain bullish, gold remain bullish, silver remain bullish. Crude oil gone slightly off the boil. We actually had bullish for all the traders, and now we are only bullish for the very aggressive and the aggressive traders, the risk takers. Australian dollar remains bullish. We're trading very close to 70 US cents. And we've got the euro very strong as well. Now looking at our market in terms of what we can see here for our stocks. This was 2 Saturdays ago, and that's what we've seen Saturday morning. So looking at what we predicted 2 Saturdays ago, we said BHP is most likely going to remain bullish, and over 2 weeks we've seen the market 0.4%, but last week it dropped by 0.2%. Newcrest Mines is bullish by 1.5% last week, and we were bullish recommendation and remain bullish with the exception of the conservative trader. Rio, we said we were bullish 2 Saturdays ago, and last week we made 1.7%, so that was good. TPM, we said we were bullish, trade TPM, however TPM remained unchanged. And Wesfarmers, we were bullish, we ended up being down 1.3%. So again, these mechanical systems, they are a lot better performers when they actually have a trend in the market. When there is volatility, then of course the signals can change from one day to another. These are weekly, by the way, they only change once a week. However, the next one is the daily, and all these change every day. So you can see here we remain bullish on BHP this morning, and we remain bullish for Wesfarmers for the investor, as well as Newcrest Mines. For the very aggressive trader, those people who trade in and out of the market on a daily basis, we can be more bearish on several stocks for 1 or 2 or 3 days trades. We can also be bullish on Newcrest Mines, QBE, Rio, and so on. But be careful here, because of course these can change from one daily to another. You got to keep your radar fully operational, looking at what happens in the market, and listen to all the news and try to talk to some of the experts like us and other professional advisors. Now we also scan the market for volume, and we compare advances over declines. Like on Friday, we had 24% of all the stocks advancing and 37% declining. However, you can see here the volume dropped. When the following day, the previous day, we had 38% of all the stocks advancing and 23% declining, and the volume was higher. So this tells me there is more or less a positive sentiment for people who don't want to miss out. So every time the market gets excited, they get excited as well, and they move the market and push it higher. And when the market goes down, they believe the market will come back their way. They may be right, they may be wrong, and what happens, the volume is lower. Over the last 5 days, you can see here the declines, the red bar exceeds the advances. However, the week before we had the other way. Again, looking at last Friday, all the companies that actually performed well. They are painted yellow because we can see here, if they're yellow, it means the day before they were also performing well. Like Zip, on Thursday, at the end of Thursday, we saw Zip going up by 10.4%, and then Zip got up by another 8% last Friday. And by the way, we are trading Zip, and that could be a good profit for our clients. OpenPay, is that a copy of Afterpay Touch? It could be, but OpenPay was up by 4.3%. Afterpay was up quite a bit on Thursday, but I don't see it here amongst the positive. So again, just I think Afterpay may actually reached its top. Kogan 2.4%. No, it wasn't higher the previous. Xero 1.3%. Where are you, Xero? So I can see it, but I know it was actually higher. Okay, all right, well, let's move on. Okay, announcement today that may affect the market. In China, the foreign direct investment. And tomorrow, that's tomorrow morning our time, we've got FOMC member Williams speaks. I don't know what he's going to say. Federal budget balance. There could be expected negative 350 million. Tomorrow we have the NAB business confidence. Now, in terms of what happened on Friday and what results we've got here, on Friday, US PPI expected 0.4% positive. It was actually 0.2% down. That is the purchase index, showing whether the market is moving, people are buying, and so on. Unemployment rate. That's Canada. In China, new loans as expected. Money supply. Okay, 11.1%. We scan the market every day and every week to see what stock has actually had excessive volume. We start with the volume over weekly basis. We look at the last 50 weeks volume and we work out the moving average. Nothing in the top 50, but here, for instance, this company, West African, week on week, over 50 weeks, usually we have 15 million transactions per week. Well, last week, West African Resources had 76 million, we can say 77 million transactions, nearly 4 times the average volume, and the price went up by 19%. Is it worthwhile looking at it? We'll have a look at it and see West African Resources, whether we can trade it on the CFDs. CFD is leverage, so it's really, when it goes up by 10%, you double your money, almost. There is another company called CityChick. It was up 14%, double the volume. So we scan the market on a week-by-week basis, and we give them those to you on our spreadsheet, on our presentation, and you can find all of these on our website. Now let's have a look and see if West African was appearing the week before. No, that's nothing really. Okay. Now look at the daily. You can see that on Friday, West African Resources was up 7%, or nearly double the volume. So it's been going up right through the week. And so is CityChick. That's on the positive side. On the upside, on the downside, we've got Elmo Software, slightly down. Volume not a great deal, only 50% higher. Okay, we go the day before and see what we can see the day before happen on our market. That's Thursday. West African Resources did not appear here. So that tells me one thing, that West African Resources started to rise earlier in the week, nothing on Thursday, and then shot up on Friday. Did we pick up the signal earlier in the week? We may have missed it. Okay, now in terms of our CFD trading, we were actually 2,940 the day before, and now our volume, our capital is about 3,200, slight improvement. Okay, before you go, there is our disclaimer. This presentation, by the way, did not take into consideration your financial circumstances. It's all on general advice, nothing personal. We don't know your risk appetite, and you don't know it, then don't be actually to trade without being careful. So again, talk to us if you want to have any questions, find out exactly what you can do, what you cannot do. So to finish off, there is our details. So we can actually give you a hand to evaluate your portfolio. And by the way, if you want to learn how to pick up signals on what to keep and what to sell, what to hold, we run an education program tailor-made to suit your needs. We don't treat all our students the same way. We assess their risk appetite or risk aversion, and we treat them either as investors or traders, and if traders, if they are conservative or aggressive. And these are our details. You can write to me at George@FS. FS stands for full service. Full service. George@fssecurities.com.au. You can call me on my mobile. I'm available almost 7 days a week, nearly 10 to 12 hours a day when I'm not playing tennis, I'm not playing bridge, I'm not somewhere in the gym. So anyway, try 61, you don't need a zero, 61-411-259526 if you ring from overseas. If you're local from Australia, you don't need to put the country code. You can ring 0411-259526. Happy trading, and I hope you make some money. And again, if you like the presentation, please give us some feedback and share this presentation with other people that you know.